While Uber driving through Lakewood Ranch at night, I almost ran over an alligator that was crossing the road. I watched him and made sure he got off the road so nobody else would have the same problem. He was about 8.5 feet long, and this guy likes to hang out on the roads of Lakewood Ranch. And of course, that wasn't the only crazy thing I saw on this evening Uber driving. Earlier in the night, I was in Sarasota, and you'll notice two vehicles simultaneously driving in the wrong direction on Mound Road right outside of Sarasota's downtown. There they are. They both decided to drive in the wrong direction. One figured it out and drove over the median, while the other one went head on into oncoming traffic. Alright everybody, so the spring breakers are back to the Sarasota area. I have to admit it's not as many as in previous years, but hopefully over the next few weeks it improves. I haven't noticed any red tide along the beaches, and a lot of people that did come down while Uber driving. I had several people that came down for spring break, so it's been a little bit of a pickup today on the Uber driving because of the spring breakers, but they are back, even if it's to a smaller degree than previous years. As you saw at the beginning of the video, there's some type of vibe on Siesta Key. It's not like it usually is, but it's something. St. Armand Circle has some people, but it looks possibly 80 to 90% empty compared to usual. Practically looks like a ghost town right now. These used to be free parking spaces, but they started charging by the hour to keep homeless people from parking here. But it did look like a complete ghost town. I don't know what these buses are, but they're all over the city now. If anybody knows what's up with these buses, they're like everywhere. They just showed up out of nowhere. Picked up this dang Cuban here on Lido Key and took him past St. Armand Circle back to some impoverished part of Sarasota where he belongs. I have to say, like, and again, I guess I can say this because I'm a Cuban myself, and boy, I don't really enjoy getting other Cuban passengers. They don't want to talk. I don't know what's up with these new Cubans. Like, the old Cubans were very talkative people. If I had to guess what he was doing on the beach, is he was probably smoking behind abandoned buildings. And right around here, he opened a pill bottle and popped some pills and then fell asleep. Anyways, they don't tip, so they're not fun. And I was hoping that picking up somebody on Lido Key would have been a good pickup, but it wasn't. I'm really trying to stick to tourists because I don't want to starve to death. So then I picked up these people at the Sarasota Yacht Club. This was a very fancy event. I got to blur out the faces of the passengers that got in the car because you're not allowed to show people's faces if they're your passengers. The rest of them don't matter because they're not my passengers. But anyways, they got in the car. It was like 6 or 7 people. I have a big pickup truck. Somehow they all found a seat. And it was a very fancy upscale event. And few guys, few women. Anytime you got white people in suits, they usually tip very well. Now, these people's conversation started to go into a hilarious place. Like, they're having a serious conversation about, like, you know, if a guy doesn't have so many millions of dollars, I won't date him and all that. And I'm like, well, if you know some old rich ladies that got some money, let me know. And I just kind of got them, and they started joking around. They were cracking up. These people were just cracking up because they were having this, like, serious, like, trying to sound affluent conversation. And every once in a while, like, I would butt into their conversation with a hilarious comment. Like, if you know some old rich ladies, you let me know. Or I'm like, you know. And then one of the guys that was sitting in the front seat with me, like, you know, he's like, I guess he actually was the one that had money. The rest of them were just kind of like lice or something. You know, but like, there's rich people and then there's people that are pretending to be rich. I think this was like a group of rich people and a few poor friends that were trying to look rich or trying to sound affluent. But it really came off plastic and fake to me. But the guy that probably had the money was the guy that sat next to me in the front. And he caught on to my jokes because I started ripping on the women that were like, you know, kind of, what do you call these? You know, like anchors that attach themselves to people for money. I started ripping jokes on them, and then the guy, he starts cracking up. He starts ripping jokes on them because the women are like, if the guy doesn't have so much money, then I'm not going to date him. I'm like, what do you have to offer, young lady? All right, so I drop off these people at a hotel nearby. They gave me a $6 tip. I'm sure they were all out of towners. That's why they tipped. If they were locals, they wouldn't have given me crap. Okay, so I had to work my way back towards Lakewood Ranch. Notice a bicycle there. That's a homeless guy with one of those bicycle trailers. They go around dumpster diving in rich neighborhoods. So there's an area between Bradenton and Sarasota. I don't like working this area because it's a complete crapshoot. It looks suburban and fancy, but it's actually pretty hood. And that's the beauty of Uber driving late at night. If you looked at this neighborhood, you'd be like, wow, these are $600,000 houses. But for some reason, it's just not a good area to Uber drive. Just, there's a lot of, like, people who their kids still live with them. So, like, even though you're in a rich area, you're not getting rich people. So finally, I dropped off somebody near University Mall, and I got a ride from University Mall back to Lakewood Ranch where I live. Alright, so I discovered a glitch that could have been a scam. Now, I have told you guys that most of the people that have scammed me have been people out of Lakewood Ranch. I don't know if these people were trying to scam me or if legitimately the right circumstances happened to where I could have been scammed. They did have alcohol on them, and I did have to tell them to drop the alcohol in the bushes because they wanted to get in my car drinking alcohol. Now, that is a trashy thing to do. You know it's illegal to get into a car with alcohol, even if the driver's not engaging. I did make them pour out the alcohol. That's why there's kind of a delay here to get them in the vehicle. But the problem is, I don't know who they are, and they're not going to have alcohol in my car. Now, that in itself isn't really a problem. I did tell them nicely, hey, I'm really sorry, but you cannot have alcohol in my vehicle. It's against the law. Well, anyways, so I don't know if it was a scam or a glitch. Now, this is heading towards Lakewood Ranch, and as I've told you guys, the vast majority of the people scamming that I have run into have been in Lakewood Ranch. Now, I'm not accusing these people of scamming because a lot of these scams are difficult to detect. So it could have been a scam or it could have been a misunderstanding. Regardless, I do believe that whatever happened was an abnormality which could have led to me not getting paid enough. Now, they are going to there's two parties that are going to two different places. Now, the GPS was guiding me to one destination, but I saw a quicker route to get there and I took another route. So here's the abnormality, is that I deviated from the path. But by deviating from the path, I was actually closer to the other drop off and the passengers asked me to go there. Now in theory, I have to go exactly where the GPS tells you. So by deviating from the course of the route, I already went against logic, which could have left me vulnerable for a scam. And it wasn't their suggestion on their end, it was me deciding to go on a quicker route that wasn't the GPS route. So there's a few abnormalities here that could have been them trying to scam me, or could have just been that I changed things around. But the point being, if you're an Uber driver, you need to watch out for this. There was 2 drop-off destinations. Now, they didn't tell me that initially. When they booked it, they didn't book it as 2 drop-offs. And if they did, at some point or another, one of the drop-offs disappeared, but the distance was the same because I went closer to the first drop-off first. So I don't know exactly how all that happened. What I do know is that this was a 2-point drop-off that turned into a 1-point drop-off because I went to the second drop-off first. Could it have been me deviating from the course? Could it have been that right here, when the guy saw that I was going closer to the other route, he deleted 1 and he had 2 drop-offs? I'm not sure. When he showed me the phone, he only had 1 drop-off showing. So at some point, some abnormality happened. It could have been that they were trying to scam me, but something didn't work out. Regardless, I have said before that the only place where I've ran into like the most number of scammers is in Lakewood Ranch, and I don't know why that is. And again, I'm not outright accusing these people of trying to scam me. They certainly seem like decent people, but at the end of the day, every time I've been scammed has been in Lakewood Ranch. So I've noticed that Lakewood Ranch is a very scammy area, despite the fact it's suburban and pretty and everybody wants to live here. You've heard my story. It's just about every time I deal with a scam-like situation, it's Lakewood Ranch. And I think most of the scams come from abnormalities in the app or the layout of the map. And what happens in Lakewood Ranch is that all of Lakewood Ranch is new. So because it's new, the Google Maps and the maps that they use for Uber, they don't really correlate very well. So it leaves a lot of vulnerability. So if somebody takes an Uber a few times and they see some of these abnormalities, they could easily distort the rides and start to scam the drivers every time. And there are people that when they see an opportunity to steal, they go for it. So I'm not saying that's the case here, but it's been the case repetitively in Lakewood Ranch. But again, they did tip me considerably to make up the difference, so I'm not complaining about them and I'm not accusing them. But I'm just saying that overall, Lakewood Ranch is a place where you run into the most abnormalities, which lead to the most people discovering a way to scam the system. But here's the lesson learned for Uber drivers like me. If you're an Uber driver watching today's video, this is the lesson you can learn. If you have one person, you can deviate from the route. But if you have a large group of people that may be splitting up, do not deviate from the route. And if you're Uber driving in Lakewood Ranch late at night, be very careful because there are giant alligators on the road.